Clash Royale 2025 has been quite bumpy. This year had many highs but also a lot of lows. And with 2025 coming to an end, I think this is a good time to look back at the entire year. I will be going over each season individually, talk about new cards, evolutions, reworks, as well as what got added and removed, as well as some balance changes and what the community thought at the time, and at the end give my rating of the year. So let's now go over January. The year started off a bit slow, with a new evolution and a new card. The evolution was the Evolved Dark Goblin and the new card was the Ruined Giant. Now, I don't think I have to explain how the Evolved Dark Goblin works, as he is pretty much the same as how he was at launch. But considering the Ruined Giant has a 0% usage rate, I think I should explain how she works. Pretty much she can enchant 2 troops, and when troops are enchanted, they pretty much do 220 extra damage every 3 hits. A major distinction from the Ruined Giant now to how she worked back then, it was that the more shots the troop did, the more the enchantment would multiply. So for an example, the hunter would shoot out 10 bullets, and because every bullet counts as 1 hit, that means on his 3rd attack he'll do 2200 bonus damage, which is different from the modern Ruined Giant, which only buffs the troop itself. So if you do the same thing now with the hunter will only do 220 damage. So of course with this massive advantage compared to today, the Ruined Giant had a laughably low usage rate. Now the reason why the Ruined Giant had such a low usage rate was because once she died, the boost for the cards would also disappear. Unlike today where it lasts 5 seconds after she gets taken down. Now many people at the time thought she needed a damage buff, because she only dealt 120 damage at tournament standard. To put you into perspective how low this is, a Hog Rider, which is the same price as the Ruined Giant, would do 317 damage, alongside the Hog Rider having a very fast movement speed compared to the Ruined Giant's medium. So many people thought she just needed a damage buff. But Supercell decided to implement a different change. On January 21st, Supercell would do an emergency buff to Ruined Giant. This buff would allow the troop to keep the enchantment until it got taken down. This made the card go from bad to broken, and it made this combo popular. Does it look familiar? Anyways, people didn't really like this combo, so they nerfed her in the next set of balance changes. And then they nerfed her again in the March balance changes, which puts her in the state that she is in today. But as for the rest of January, we did get a pretty big set of balance changes, with 28 balance changes in total. Another thing that was added was the chest experiment. This was an experiment that would remove golden, magical, and giant chests from the chest cycle, and would replace them with wooden chests and crown chests. And the wooden alongside the silver chests will unlock instantly, while the crown chest would take a day to unlock. Now this experiment was only for King Tower level 1 to 9, and it lasted till January 15th to March 31st. Overall, the community's reaction to this was pretty positive, and considering Supercell said that they wanted to rework the chess cycle in the first quarter update, this experiment made me hopeful that the first quarter update would be pretty good. That was pretty much it for January, so let's now go over to February. Just like January, we would get an evolution and a new card. The evolution was the Evolved Lumberjack, and the card was the Berserker. The Berserker, just like the Evolved Dark Goblin, functions about the same now as it did back then. But the Evolved Lumberjack, oh, he definitely did. Pre-release, the Evolved Lumberjack Ghost dealt just as much damage as the regular Lumberjack. Plus, the Evolved Lumberjack was only 1 cycle compared to nowadays where it's only 2 cycles. And finally, you could extend the Ghost's life with more rages. This meant that you could triple the lifespan of the Ghost, as Mirrored Rage would also work. This means with this trick, the Ghost would last 16.5 seconds in the arena. Now luckily, they would nerf his damage before he launched. Plus, in about a week's time, they would make it so you couldn't extend the Ghost lifespan with more rages. As for the rest of the season, we would see the return of 2v2 ladder, which was definitely exciting, although it didn't have the same amount of rewards as the first time. Outside of that, there wasn't really too much else, other than when the Berserker got teased, people thought she looked like Mickey Mouse. As for March, we only got 1 evolution this month. This evolution was the Evolved Hunter. Now, the Evolved Hunter actually perma-stunned back then, unlike today where there are 2 seconds before the Hunter brings out his next net. Outside of that, the Evolved Hunter at launch isn't too different from the Evolved Hunter we have today. As for other stuff we would get that season, we would get a new temporary ladder. This new temporary ladder was Retro Royale. This ladder mode was trying to mimic late 2017 Clash Royale, and aesthetics wise it hit the spot. The deck screen and home screen looked pretty spot on, and you could only use cards pre-2018. But as for the gameplay, it wasn't nearly as cool, because every card still had their modern stats. You could still play with level 15 cards despite level 15 didn't exist back in 2017, and there were only 2 arenas to climb compared to 2017's 12. So aesthetics perfect, but gameplay no. Overall, I can't really be too mad at this event because A, I didn't play the game in 2017, and B, this was always meant to just be a smaller side thing, unlike Brawl Stars where they made a whole update themed around it. Now, March 2025 was Clash Royale's 9th birthday, so they wanted to celebrate it with a community vote. Pretty much the community could decide between 4 different rewards. These rewards were a free Evolved Wizard, a free Evolved Valkyrie, a free 5-star Lucky Drop, or a free Book of Legendaries. Now, many people really wanted the 5-star Lucky Drop, but in the end we got the Evolved Valkyrie. Now, many people got quite angry at this, but I didn't own the Evolved Valkyrie, so I didn't care. Overall, this month seemed to be a bit of a lesser month, but for some reason on March 29th, Supercell teased their next update, and on March 31st, 2025, the update released. In this update, we would get 3 major features. The first change was with the chest cycle. They would rework it so you would now get 3 lucky drops, alongside random cards and gold. Now everyone got different values of what I just said, unlike today where everyone is guaranteed 4 lucky drops and gold. The next change was removing the season shop. Now many players hated this change because the season shop provided a lot of value. But looking at the season shop in hindsight, the season shop was quite grindy, alongside the fact that a book and 3 shards would cost 40,000 season tokens, which is 40 days worth of season tokens. Compared to now where all you have to do to get these rewards is just play the game. So overall, the season shop removal in hindsight isn't that bad. And finally, we got a pretty big Clash Royale rework. Now Supercell advertised this rework as more tiers, which equates to more rewards. But in reality, they removed like 50% of all of the rewards. I did actually think that the old pass was maybe a bit too valuable, but I was thinking more of a 10 or 20% nerf. As for smaller stuff they added in the update, they removed banner tokens and the banner box, daily tasks and magic keys. They reworked lucky drops, and to simplify it, they pretty much buffed the chance of getting 4 stars but nerfed the chance of getting 5 stars. AI for cards was improved, but it was quite buggy at launch. Daily streak getting changed, bonus crowns getting changed, I added a play again button, 3rd tier mastery rewards got changed, Huggy Bank got moved to the shop, cosmetic selection screen improvements, and bug fixes. Overall, looking at all the major stuff, there isn't really too much, but there are definitely a lot of smaller features. Overall, looking at all of this stuff at face value, this update doesn't really look that good, but overall it's actually quite solid. The thing here is actively good, but there's only really one thing that's holding this update back, which is why this update will get a 6 out of 10. Now, it seemed like this update was mostly directed at casual players, and while casual players do make up the majority of this game, it's also important to still cater to those more dedicated to the game, like me. Which was why this update was quite unpopular for the people who cared, and many were actually saying that Clash Royale was dying, which is crazy to say because Clash Royale is super popular right now, but that was genuinely what all the hardcore players were saying, and I think this was actually the time where I played the least Clash Royale. But anyways, out with my personal experiences, because now it's April. April would add an evolution as well as a new champion card. The evolution was the Executioner, and the champion was the Boss Bandit. Now, the evolved Executioner pretty much functions the same way as he does today, and the Boss Bandit is about the same except for her ability. Because unlike today where she has a 3-second cooldown for her ability, back then when she got under 50% of her HP, she could get her ability again. Now this is the perfect time to say I do not like Boss Bandit. Not how much damage she does, not even how annoying her ability is. I just think the health she has is ridiculous. I mean, she's got more health than the Cannoneer. This means every time you're taking down a Boss Bandit, you just took down a whole ass Cannoneer. I do not like Boss Bandit, she needs another nerf. Even Mohammed Light agrees, a 3-time world champion.
That deck's been played a few times that Ian was running. It's been very successful. You and Alan kind of created that deck. Can you talk about why you guys think it's been so good in CRL 2025?
I think the main thing about the deck is that the Boss Bandit is really broken and it probably should be nerfed.
Anyways, there wasn't really too much else in April other than the April Fool's joke. Pretty much Supercell did a TV Royale hyping up this code of kindness, where you'll sign it to say that you will be a good boy, and players were actually getting banned for being too toxic, and all of this madness would end on April 1st, where you would finally sign the code of kindness. Until you realized that you couldn't sign it, and if you didn't sign it, you would get a free emote. Honestly, a pretty good April Fool's joke. Now it's May, and the new evolution was the Evolved Witch. Now, the Evolved Witch, just like the Evolved Lumberjack pre-launch, would have been broken. First of all, she would heal over 100 HP per skeleton. This is 49 more HP than today. Also, her extra health would be enough to survive lightning. And finally, every skeleton could heal her. Skeletons from skeletons, Skarmy, Tombstone, Graveyard, even guards could heal her. Every skeleton would heal her. So it was quite obvious that she would dominate the meta, which was why she got a nerf before release. She would heal less from skeletons and she wouldn't survive from lightning even if she had max bonus health. Although apparently you could actually play with the pre-release Evolved Witch for a few hours. Outside of the Evolved Witch, we would actually get 3 major reworks. A Golden Knight rework, a Cannon Card rework, and what I will be focusing on, the Goblin Hut rework. The Golden Knight could just dash backwards, and the Cannon Card wouldn't have a shield but would get 5% more HP. But the Goblin Hut rework pretty much turned it into a new card. Instead of spawning in intervals of 3, goblins would not only spawn when a troop came nearby. The new Goblin Hut would also have way more HP, which meant they could survive lightning. And finally, it was 1 elixir less. I can understand why they overcompensated the new Goblin Hut, because the old Goblin Hut was really weak. But just looking at the stats at launch, they may have gone a bit too far. Some other changes in May were being able to get limited emotes from challenges, being able to get challenge emotes from the shop, and Supercell standardizing daily rewards. Finally, this month would mark something special. One man that made Clash Royale more popular than ever. A man that almost doubled Clash Royale's revenue in the same month, and would even quadruple it in later months. You probably already know who I'm talking about, and he's probably the main reason why you're even watching this video. And this man is Ken. Now, okay, it's Jinxie. But that should be everything notable in May, so let's jump to June. The evolution for June was the Evolved Inferno Dragon. Fun fact, the Evolved Inferno Dragon actually hasn't gotten a single balance change yet, so I don't think I have to explain what has changed with the Evolved Inferno Dragon. Outside of that, we got the last 2v2 ladder of this recording. This 2v2 ladder was definitely the least rewarding, but 2v2 ladder is still 2v2 ladder, so it was still quite fun. But overall, just like March, this month was a bit dry. But also just like March, we would get an update at the last day of the month. This update added 5 major features. The biggest one and the most exciting one was the ladder rework. Pretty much they extended the ladder from 9k to 10k. They then afterwards allowed you to grind to 15k, and your trophies would reset every season after you hit 10k. This ladder change was overall a net positive, because now more players were spread out. This meant that higher ladder wouldn't be filled with level 15s. The second change was the Path of Legends rework, now renamed to Rank. They now locked rank to 15,000 trophies when it was previously 5,000 trophies. Ranks got shortened because now you need to grind more to get there, as well as a lot of smaller and minor changes. The other 2 features were a badge rework and events tab removal. The badge rework gave them a new look, as well as gave them more categories for more distinction, and the events tab removal just moved all the game modes to the game mode switcher. This also came with a few other changes, like different rewards for challenges, and 2v2 getting removed for no reason. Overall, everything here would already make for a pretty big update, but I haven't yet discussed the last thing that got added, Merge Tactics. Merge Tactics was an auto chest game, which was supposed to fill the void that Clash Mini filled, but I never played Clash Mini, so this was just a fun side thing. And if I had to come clean, Merge Tactics is the only game mode I'd actually like to play. Previously, in other ladder game modes, I only really played them for the rewards, even 2v2 ladder. But Merge Tactics had the key distinction of being fun. Although, just because something is fun doesn't mean it's perfect. I mean, it's got way too much RNG in it, and your rewards are 1 P.E.K.K.A. But still, I really like Merge Tactics. As for some other smaller stuff this update added, they reworked the gem economy a bit, so you would get less gems from masteries, but you now get more gems from ladder. They also distributed some rewards from Path of Legends to ladder. They also reworked the giant, magical, lightning, and mega lightning chests, so now they would give out different rewards, as well as adding back the super magical chest. The bonus rewards that gave out cards and gold were reworked to now only give out gold. There were also various other changes and bug fixes, and finally, when spectating, you couldn't anymore see Elixir. Overall, this June update is really big. I mean, we got so many reworks, a brand new ladder mode, and a bunch of smaller features. And most if not all of this stuff is still at a high quality. I mean, yeah, it does suck that we're getting less gems overall, and that 2v2 got removed, but critically looking at everything, this is still quite good, which is why this update gets a 9 out of 10. But you want to know what is also getting a 9 out of 10? Not July. July would give us an evolution and a new card, or 2 new cards. The Evolved Skeleton Barrel and Spirit Empress. The Evolved Skeleton Barrel works about the same as it does today, and the same goes for Spirit Empress. So, what am I going to talk about this season? I guess Boss Bandit got a health nerf? I guess the best event in Clash Royale got released this month, although the event is also part of August. So let's just talk about August. August would give us a brand new card rework and an evolution. The card that got reworked was the Furnace, and the evolution was the Furnace. The Furnace would now walk on legs and attack, and the evolved Furnace would now spawn fire spirits every time it attacked. And they work about the same as they do right now, except for if you count the 4 nerfs Supercell gave it. Now the Furnace, just like a lot of cards I've talked about on this list, was broken at launch. First of all, the Furnace walks slower, so if you put it in the back you would get more fire spirits. But he would also spawn fire spirits every 5 seconds, compared to today where he only spawns 1 every 7 seconds. He also had more HP so he could survive poison, and when the evolved Furnace attacked, the fire spirits would spawn instantly, compared to today where they will have a 0.6 second delay. So as you can imagine, the Furnace was pretty broken, with a 97% usage rate at its peak. So luckily Supercell emergency nerfed it 2 days after it came out. As for other stuff that got added, 2v2 was finally back in the game mode switcher. Kinda weird how they had to release an update for something as trivial as a game mode, but hey, at least it came with some merge tactics balance changes. We also got a pretty big set of balance changes with 28 balance changes. This is the second time this year we got a big set of balance changes, and it wouldn't be the last either. Finally, we would also get yet another chest experiment. Pretty much instead of getting 4 lucky drops every day, some players were lucky and then got chests instead. At first everyone was excited, but then after a few days people realized that this wasn't better, because lucky drops in the long run would provide way more. So they stopped this experiment in October and reverted everything back to normal. But that was about it for August. So now it's September and Supercell is dropping a brand new card and evolution. The evolution was the evolved baby dragon and the new card was Vines. The only real change from the evolved baby dragon now to when it first came out was that it had 1 cycle. This is more justified because the baby dragon is a beatdown card, but considering a good amount of beatdown cards got buffed in the August balance changes, it was no surprise why beatdown reigned supreme. But hey, at least Vines is a beatdown card, alongside the fact that it was really broken, which meant beatdown was even stronger this season. Outside of beatdown dominating, we would also get the worst change in Clash Royale history, Goblin Curse not having damage amplification. Absolute outrage. But at the very least, we got a brand new clan event, Clan Voyage. This was really exciting because we haven't had an event like this since the clan chest, so players were quite hyped. Until we saw the rewards and there were just some lucky drops, gold crates and a tower troop chest. Nothing too exciting but still quite cool. And that about covers everything for September. So now it's October, and Supercell finally didn't drop an update the last day of the month. Now, I have already talked about this update in a short I made, so I'm just gonna briefly go over everything. We would get 3 major features and a few smaller features. The first one was the first ever merge tactics update. This update just added more of everything except for rewards, and I guess they also added some badges. The second major feature were new lucky chests. The new lucky chests were common and seasonal lucky chests, as well as renaming the lucky drop to the lucky chest. And finally, champions not having 3 card cycle, which meant that you could play 2 champions in the arena. As for smaller features, they rewarded the daily rewards so there wouldn't be chests anymore, some changes to the game mode switcher, and various bug fixes. That was about it for the update. I do think I gave the update a bit too much praise in my previous video, as I think 8 out of 10 was maybe a bit too high. I think this update is probably closer to a 7, even a 6 out of 10. But even then, that's still quite good. But anyways, back to the actual October season. This season wouldn't have any card nor rework. Instead, we would get an extra evolution. The first evolution was the evolved Skarmy. This evolution, just like the evolved Inferno Dragon, hasn't yet gotten a single balance change. But the evolved Royal Ghost has, but it was just a few damage nerfs. Yet again, then I don't really have to say what has changed with these 2 evolutions. As for some other stuff in this season, we got one of the biggest set of balance changes in Clash Royale history, with 48 balance changes in total. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the most amount of balance changes ever. Another thing that got added were fallback rewards for the new seasonal lucky chests. But this feels more like an event rather than a feature, because the fallback rewards were not available for the whole season. But hey, at least we got 2 free evolved Royal Ghost shards from that. Finally, before I jump to November, loading screen can now animate. Anyways, November season. This season, just like many others, added a new evolution and a new rework. The new evolution was the Royal Hogs, and the rework was the 3 Musketeers. The evolved Royal Hogs haven't yet gotten any balance changes, and the 3 Musketeers have only gotten a bug fix. Overall, I don't really have too much to talk about here, although to be fair, that was kinda expected because they've only been out for a month. For the rest of November, we would get the first part of a new update. This update is probably the most controversial update of the year. Now I know you already know what I'm talking about, but I first want to mention everything else that got added. There are 5 main parts of this update. The first part and biggest part was the progression rework. This massive progression rework would remove books and elite wildcards, and would try to streamline progression by just making it about cards and gold. Overall, I'd say this was a positive, because the elite wildcard system didn't really make too much sense in Clash Royale. Some other changes that came with this progression rework were being able to upgrade cards with gems, reduced costs for lower card levels, which I'll get to later on why they did that, and upgrading a card from level 14 to 15 would be just like any other level. The second major addition are crystals. You use these crystals to get cosmetics in the crystal shop, and you get crystals by getting copies of a max level card. Now at first I thought this was great, because Supercell is practically adding a system that gives us free cosmetics. But then I realized that crystals won't actually give out any progression, unlike when you got copies of an elite card. So in reality, the crystal system is kind of a negative. The third major change is a ladder rework. This rework extends the base trophy road from 10k to 12k. Now this rework on the surface sounds pretty unnecessary, as the old ladder did a great job on fixing the over-leveling issue. But I've got a theory on why Supercell did this change, but that will have to wait until the last part of the update. The fourth major part was a merge tactics update. This added a new hero, more cards, more traits and modifiers, and quality of life improvements. And yet again, they didn't make the rewards better. Overall, all of this would already make for a decently sized update, and a good one at that. But Supercell just had to ruin it by adding level 16. Well, on a technical standpoint, yes, level 16 is better for progression, but all level 16 does for Clash Royale, it is make the level disparity even bigger. So while yes, it would be faster to progress after the level 16 update, it doesn't mean level 16 itself is also good. And remember I've said I've got a theory on why they extended the trophy road? You see, when Supercell introduced level 15, they also extended the trophy road in that update. And in the TV Royale, this was their explanation on why.
The trophy road ends at 9,000 now. That's like an extra 1,500 trophies to grind through to use your elite levels in.
So I'm assuming that they're trying to do the same thing here with level 16, which is kinda scummy when you think about it, because they're practically telling you, hey, if you want to be in the top league, you pretty much either have to suffer with your lower level cards, or just pay up for level 16. Overall, the first part of the update would have probably gotten an 8 out of 10, but because of level 16, I have to unfortunately dock 3 points, because adding new levels to Clash Royale only makes the game worse. Overall, the rest of the season was just your regular affair. But at the end of the month, we would get a bit of controversy. You see, when Supercell first dropped part 1 of the update, they sneakily added a change that they didn't tell any creators, and it was a massive lucky chest nerf. This obviously made many people in the community really angry, because while everyone was already quite salty of part 1 because of level 16, people were now even more salty because of this lucky drop nerf. And at first I also had this opinion, until one day I messed around with the menus and then I found out about something, because I found out the lucky chests we are getting are actually level 14 lucky chests. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about, in the December season, Supercell added a new type of lucky chest. The new type of lucky chest was exclusive for Arena 28 players and higher, and is pretty much just a more souped up version of the lucky chest. The reason why it's significant that we're getting level 14 lucky chests right now, it is because these are lower arena lucky chests. These lucky chests are not the same as the 10,000 trophy lucky chests that we were getting. So obviously, this massive reward decrease was just temporary. Overall, that's about it for November. So December will now have the second part of the update. But considering all of the events and features were bundled in this one update, I think it would be far easier to just talk about the update itself and not talk about the season. The second part of the update would have 3 major features. The first major feature and the most apparent one were heroes. Pretty much regular cards now have champion abilities. I'm gonna quickly go over what each hero does. The hero mini P.E.K.K.A can upgrade 5+ levels. Musketeer basically becomes Jesse and drops a turret that has the hit speed of a Dart Goblin. The Hero Knight makes him taunt, making all enemies target him. Plus he gets a nice shield. And finally, Hero Giant can punch one troop to the other lane. Overall, it was quite obvious that the Hero Knight would be the best, the Mini P.E.K.K.A. and Musketeer would be at around the same power level, and the Hero Giant was the worst. Overall, I feel like cards getting abilities is a bit unnecessary, as it feels like the only reason why they're doing it is because they're running out of evolution ideas. I feel like it would have been far better if they had just made more champion abilities, as ever since evolutions were added, champions just felt more and more devalued. But to be fair, I'm not a multi-billion-dollar company, so I don't know what I'm talking about. The second major feature were new lucky boxes and a new lucky chest. The two new boxes are called the Evolution Box and Hero Box. And the new lucky chest is the Magic Lucky Chest. The main differences between the boxes and lucky chests, it is that the boxes will always be higher than 1 star, but only have 3 spins. The Evolution Lucky Box, no matter what, would be a good addition, as it's just giving out extra free evolutions. But the Hero Box is literally the only way to get heroes, as they're the only way you can get hero fragments, and if you get 200 hero fragments, you can get a free hero, as long as you don't get a duplicate. And it doesn't really help that the only way we can get hero boxes are from the past, which is basically telling me that these heroes are gonna be just as hard to get as when evolutions were first released. Finally, we got the Magic Lucky Chest. These Magic Lucky Chests are exclusive to top arena players only. And these are pretty much just regular lucky chests, but they're just better. And finally, we would get a Pass Royale rework. Pretty much they now rework the pass to accommodate for heroes. We now get hero boxes on the free side, and a full hero if you bought the Diamond Pass. They removed chests from the pass for some reason. And the biggest change is that both sides now have a 5-star lucky chest. Yet again, there are also a lot of other changes, but I would be here all day if I mentioned them all. This YouTuber did the math on if the passes were now better or worse, and according to him, the free pass got a slight buff, but the paid pass got a bit of a nerf. That's about it for all the major features. And as for all the smaller features they added, they made a lot of changes to the Dex tab. They added technically a second hero slot. You can now customize where you want to put your abilities. And finally, a lot of animations for cards got changed, alongside the usual bug fixes. Overall, part 2 was a lot worse than part 1, as this part 2 was pretty much only because of heroes, which in my opinion were pretty unneeded. Plus, it didn't help that all 4 heroes were quite broken at launch. But hey, at the very least, just like when Evolutions came out, they also allowed everyone to get 1 for free. But even with that, I can't really save this update from getting a 3 out of 10. As the only real redeeming part of part 2, it is the Evolution Box and the free pass buff. And everything else is unnecessary / bad. As for the rest of the season, we would get the 12 Days of Clash Miss, which was really cool to see, as the last time we had this event was in 2021. But comparing this to 2024, where we literally got an advent calendar, is just a bit more disappointing. But hey, 2v2 ladder is back. Only took them like what, 6 months, as well as the usual season low lucky chests and balance changes. Although it is worth noting that the E-Spirit got its first ever balance change this season. And that should be the year. Overall, if we just looked at the first 10 months of the year, I would say this year would be a pretty solid year. But that's if we don't count the last 2 months, because both of these months bring the year down by a lot, which puts it in the same league as 2022. Although to be fair, I'd say 2025 is just slightly better than 2022, as it does have overall more content, but the quality output of 2025 is obviously not as consistent as 2022. But with all that said, let's look at some facts of the year. The year would give us 5, technically 6 new cards, which is 1 less than 2024. We would get 3 card reworks, which practically turned them into new cards, but no Tower Troops. We got a total of 13 new evolutions this year, compared to 2024's 17. We would get a total of 8 major reworks, 3 brand new features, and 8 miscellaneous features, aka rebalances, removals, and updates to already existing features. And finally, 2024's revenue was a bit over $200 million. But as of November of 2025, Clash Royale made more than $450 million. That's over double the amount of last year. So with the facts over, here's a list of stuff I forgot to mention. The March 2025 Global Tournament card bans. The Undead March temporary ladder. The 20-win challenge in October. And finally, congratulations Mohamed Light on winning CRL 2025. With all that said, 2025 has been quite the roller coaster, but the future does look a bit bleak, at least for Clash Royale updates. I do really love Clash Royale, and I'm really hopeful that 2026 will at the very least be a good year. But with that, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Talker, CR, and BS.